Yo, guys, welcome back again today. So today we're going to be talking about more news from African descent people all around the world. So the first story we're going to talk about is happening in East Africa, specifically in the Horn of Africa. And there is a locust swarm, and it is said to be the worst locust swarm in the last 70 years. So a lot of this information is coming from the United Nations, and they're basically stating that these swarms of locusts were coming from the Arabian Peninsula, and now they're coming to East Africa, and they're eating a lot of the crops of the farmers. So if a lot of people don't know that, farming is first of all, it's a very hard thing to do. Second of all, when you have other beings or other life forms, right, bugs, animals that are hungry, they're just going to go with their natural instinct to eat, and they don't really care about, a farmer trying to raise food for the rest of the human population in that area. So when you get a huge swarm of locusts, they can really do devastating damage to local farmers and supplies. So the reason that this is such a big deal is because this could possibly short food to over 50 million people in East Africa, and a lot of people could possibly pass away from shortage of food. A lot of us are lucky enough to have food. Maybe we don't have food in abundance, but at least we have enough to make it by every day, right? Everybody's situation is not the same, but these locusts are becoming a very big problem, especially around this time of year. It usually happens in arid places, so like dry places where it's rained a lot. And obviously when it rains and there's moisture and there's, food and rain and heat, I guess you could say, where animals can breed and their numbers can become massive, right? So in these places in East Africa, there's not really a big way that these farmers in some countries, depending on which country you talk about, can really protect themselves, right? It's already hard enough for farmers to protect themselves in general all around the world, but when you have limited resources in certain areas, it's very hard, and it can be very devastating to the local population and cities or villages, right? Or people that live far out, that live more traditionally. So there are ways that are trying to be implemented from the local governments in East Africa to where instead of spraying pesticides on the actual food and actual plants and things of that nature that people are going to eat, they're trying to use technology that exists to where you look at the data of where the locusts have been and predict where they're going to go, their breeding habits, how many crops they actually ate and how many they destroyed, and sort of follow them on their route and their patterns to see which location that they hit next, because maybe there might be a location to the east and maybe they're going north, right? So hopefully in East Africa and the Horn of Africa, we can get that together. So now let's take a trip down to Brazil. So in a city that's in the greater Rio area, if you don't know, Rio is a city in Brazil, actually one of the biggest cities in the world, if I'm correct. And in Rio and in Brazil in general, there's a lot of people of African descent and a lot of African inspired and heritage in the culture. So in a city, there was a mayor outside of Rio, right outside in the greater Rio area, there was a mayor that wanted to build a daycare where there was a traditional Afro-Brazilian religious site. And this site was home for a while to one of the most religious figures, significant figures of Afro-Black Brazilians in the history of modern day Brazil. So there were protests, and there were tons of Afro-Brazilians that came out to the site to protest the mayor of the city. And the Afro-Brazilians that were protesting actually won. And the mayor has now moved the daycare to another part of that city. For Afro-Brazilians, like I said, they've been protesting, and there's been a lot of hate as far as Afro-Brazilian, religions. Even amongst the people of African descent, a lot of us are scared of African religions. We think it's, boogly woogly, or we think it's like voodoo or something bad or all this kind of stuff. And it's like, you don't even take 5 minutes to actually read about these things to understand them. Doesn't mean you have to believe them, but I mean to really understand them, versus saying that they're bad because they go against your beliefs, or some people from a different country or continent have made you believe a new belief or something different. It's just about understanding at the end of the day, instead of being scared of things. When they brought these religions to the Caribbeans, to Central America, to South America, sometimes they change. So sometimes they mix these religions with European beliefs or European traditions, obviously because there was Europeans around, or because there was other groups of people that were already in the islands or in Brazil or Central America. So, if you connect these religions back to Africa, they might not be exactly the same, but they're very similar. Some are exactly the same. And such religions as Candomblé, which are practiced in different parts of the Caribbean, Central America, South America, and obviously in the Americas and in Africa, these religions should be respected. Everybody should be respected. No one should look at someone else just because they believe something different and think that they're worse than. I know a lot of people do. I know in religion, a lot of people look down on other religions, other people, which is sad, to be honest with you. It is what it is. But everybody should be treated fairly. Afro-Brazilians especially should be treated fairly. And, their religious sites should be respected. And they should be looked at as something amazing and as a national treasure. There's a lot of history behind Black Brazilians, Afro-Brazilians in Brazil, and Black people all throughout North America, Central America, South America, and the Caribbeans. So that's the news from the bottom of the earth in Brazil, in North America. Actually, South America, right? So the last piece of news we got is coming from America, right? So the African American Museum in DC is not open again yet because of coronavirus, of course, as everybody knows. But you can definitely visit the site and you can take virtual tours. If I'm correct, they're letting you see some exhibits and some pieces of art, African American art, online. I don't know how much. Maybe I might actually make a video. I'm going to research that more, and I might actually make a video to where maybe we can virtually explore the African American Museum together on my YouTube channel. I think that would actually be pretty dope. If you guys would want to see that, let me know. We could all maybe experience it together. I have to do more research about that. But we got a little bit more news today. Since the African American Museum is not open for the public, we got a little bit more news, or at least news to me. Maybe some of you guys already knew this, but I didn't know this. So the African American Museum took $550 million American dollars, because I know a lot of people that are watching me are not in America, and some people, $550 million American dollars might seem like a ridiculous amount to you, but believe me, I'm in America and that's a ridiculous amount to me. That's $500 million, right? So $500 million to create this African American Museum. The African American Museum was funded, as far as what we know, or as far as what we're being told, who really knows what's going on in the background, but it was funded by 50% the government and 50% private sector, right? And they contributed to creating the African American Museum, and then the American government contributed the other. So $225 million came from the American government, and then $225 million came from, other people that wanted to donate. Don't know if they're all of African descent. I would think most of them would be, if not all of them, but you never know, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, I thought that was a pretty important facts to know about how much it actually costs. To put it in perspective, 550 million American dollars, a lot of money. Even if you're watching from some place where it's not as rich as America, like I said, to me, that's even a ridiculous amount of money. So also, some other little facts is that the African American Museum was actually got a lot of its artifacts from people's homes, right? So from people, private collectors, or people around America and maybe outside of America that collected African American art, African American documents, African American clothing, poems, cookbooks, architecture, like all kind of stuff. It was basically sourced from people's homes. A lot of it was sourced from people's homes. And as we know, I know Oprah, you got a lot of that. You know what I'm saying? Oprah has a lot of African American history in her house. And I wish one day that I could actually own more than maybe the amount that I do. I collect all African art, so and documents and things of that nature. So African American, Ethiopian, Somali, Nigerian, Ghanaian, Moroccan, South African, whatever, Afro-Brazilian, Caribbean, I collect it all. If it's people of African descent, I want it. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that was a very interesting fact. But I'm going to look into the African American Museum online, because now they're offering some exhibits that you can actually go in online and look if you have never been there. I'm actually going to go there one time. I was actually going to go this summer to DC and make a video there, but because of coronavirus, obviously I can't go. But if you guys would like to see me try to get a virtual tour, maybe private access, I don't know, maybe behind the scenes access, maybe, I don't know if I can do that. See if I have enough pool yet to do that. But if you guys would like to see a virtual tour of African American Museum, let me know in the comments. And maybe I'll try to do a little bit more research and see if I can do that. Maybe we can share it together and maybe we can talk about certain things. But yo guys, that's all the news today of people around the world of African descent. Always like and subscribe. Please turn on the bell notification down there so you can always get my videos. And follow me on all social medias, which is Afric Network, which is Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, SoundCloud, Facebook. Each one teach one. Always learn about each other. Always love each other. Always understand there's two sides to the coin. So every story isn't what you think it is, and every story isn't what you don't think it is. And yo guys, until next time, peace. One love. Take the pain away.